Fiji give France a tough game and send out a warning to their World Cup opponents. My name's Mark, let's talk rugby. This game, in terms of quality, was probably the best one that we saw this weekend. We have early on, both teams really started at a good pace and kept it up all the way through. France, they're applying pressure from the straight from the kickoff. They managed to kick the ball through. We have a good chase, and Tuisova gets tackled over the dead ball line by Vincent, and it's a 5-meter attacking scrum for France. Fiji then put pressure on at the scrum, and then the breakdown that comes after that, they managed to turn it over and kick the ball clear. Did really well there, and it looked like France were maybe going to get an early score. Radrada, though, is offside, and Jaminet is able to open the scoring from the tee. It's 3-0 to France. Dante then managed to get himself over the ball as Mata was looking to carry for Fiji. Jaminet doubles the lead to 6-0. As I said, it's high-paced, and Fiji early on found it a little bit hard to get a foothold in the game, but the more the game went on, the more they grew into it. They're trying to compete at the breakdown, but they go off their feet and kind of seal off. They were basically looking to counter ruck, and we've seen it with them before where they flood players in, but this time doesn't work out for them. It's another penalty. Jaminet makes it 9-0. Fiji then win a penalty that allows them to get a bit of foothold and get into French territory. They decide to kick up the line. Then they go to one of their carriers. They're close to the line, but then Bhatia knocks on in contact very close to the line. Expect maybe a little bit better from him, but it is a very good French defence all the same. France then win a penalty at the scrum, and they're able to clear, but Fiji are showing signs that they're going to be able to compete in this game. Then Cretan, he's getting up in the lineup for France, and he's pinching Fijian ball. He did it at least a couple of times, and that kind of disrupted Fiji's ability to really take advantage of the chances they were getting. Bhatia, though, he wins a penalty for Fiji, and then Muntz gets them on the board at 9-3. Antonio then, he's probably lucky not to have gotten a card in this one for a high hit, so it's going to be interesting to see if he gets cited for that. We'll have to wait until early next week to see what actually happens with sightings. There are a few things over the weekend that may result in sightings for different teams. France then, they managed to break through BLBRE, but Fiji, they managed to get in there, stop the move and then turn the ball over. France, though, continue to come back. They're holding onto the ball, and they're starting to stretch the Fijian defence a little. Aldrit almost gets there, but Fiji again, they managed to turn it over close to their own line. We get a penalty then for high tackle, and that allows them to clear the danger, at least for now. The game, it was very intense and kind of very tight early on as well, especially when France were controlling most of the ball. But now it's loosening up a little bit, and you can see both teams trying to run the ball, and that's beginning to suit Fiji as well. BLBRE, he breaks again. France switch it to the opposite wing, and then Mauvaka is able to get over to score. Jaminet tags on the extras for this one at 16-3, and suddenly we have a little bit of daylight between two teams. Fiji, though, they come forward, and they're close to the line again. This time they were not going to be denied. Eventually, Ikani Bere goes over to score. That's converted by Muntz, and we're at 16-10. So Fiji back within the score again. France then come again, and it really is kind of seesaw between the two teams. They're back into 22. They've got another penalty. Aldrit goes close. They recycle it, and then Antonio crashes over. Jaminet hits the post with the attempted conversion. It's 21-10, and that is our halftime score. Into the second half then, and Dante managed to get over the ball to win a penalty for France around about halfway. Jaminet strokes this one over to make it 24-10, and you feel like, France are trying to take every point that is available to them, and they're determined that this isn't going to be an embarrassing home defeat like the last time that they played Fiji in France. Fiji, they're on attack. They do well from an up and under. Good to see them kind of varying their tactics a little bit. France, though, turn it over, and Luku kicks it downfield. There's a big race for the ball. Fijians, they actually get there in numbers, but as they scramble to try and actually pick the ball up, they knock it on. France then win a penalty at the scrum, but actually gets reversed because the assistant on the far side saw something in the scrum, and Fiji are able to clear. I feel like, if France, I'm not sure what they would have done with a penalty then. They looked like they were taking points, so they might have gone for the post and not for the corner to try and kill the game at that stage, but we didn't have to find out because Fiji actually got the penalty in the end. Bhatia and Mata carrying well for Fiji. Like a lot of the Fijians were carrying very well. A lot of big men running into contact. Maybe felt like that they could have looked to find space a little bit more, because if you get players like that running in open space, it's going to be even harder for even a team as good as France to actually contain them. They then get a penalty because Dante comes in and he plays the 9 a little bit, maybe over enthusiastic from him. He was a bit of a menace for France at the breakdown, but this time just going a little bit too far. Radradra, then another good carry from him. You have Tugi and Yusui. They both go close, and Fiji again are pounding the line. Then back to Radradra again. He finally gets over next to the post. He did really well, I think, to kind of stretch out and actually ground it on the line without knocking on. We see so many players in that position, just as they're stretching to dot the ball down, they drop it or something like that. But he was fine there. He's converted for 24-17. Fiji, they're now, having more success at the scrum. They're winning penalties there, and it's making it easier for them to get into French territory. And the more the game is going on now, it's more Fiji being in the French half and putting on pressure, but France always have that ability to break from anywhere. And this time, Fiji have a line out. They look to spread it from the line out quickly, but MacLeod reads it. He picks off the pass and goes in from about halfway. Is converted for 31-17, and that felt like the game was kind of over as a contest at that point. You still felt that Fiji could maybe do something magical and get a win, but it felt like just a little bit too far for them at that point. France then, they go close to scoring again, but there is a foot and touch, maybe 5 meters or so from the line, but we were playing penalty advantage, so Jaminet makes it 34-17, and at that point, any realistic chance that Fiji had of staging a comeback is gone. But Fiji are in the ascendancy towards the end. They're camped on the French line. They have big men carrying, but France are holding them out. They manage to drive them back. Bielberry momentarily turns it over. Fiji get it back again, keep on attacking. Eventually they knock it on, and I felt like against most other defenses that probably would have scored during that period, they then go in search of a final score, applying more pressure, but can't quite get there. Full time then is 34-17. So, as I said, this was, I think, the pick of the games from the weekend. It was more intense and better quality than any of the other games that we've seen in terms of the warm-ups, and there was a really great atmosphere at the game as well. In terms of France, Jaminet showing like that, if Ramos isn't available, they still have a very reliable kicker. He had that one that hit the post from out wide, but other than that, he was dead on with all of his kicks as well. We had some really good performances as well. BRE continues to impress for a guy who's on his third cap now, I think. Then Mo Farah did really well at his wing as well. Mawabaka, when he came on, Aldred was good. He went off with a knock. Hopefully he's going to be okay for the Rugby World Cup. And Astoy did well at 10. They were talking about in commentary, maybe not enough to get over Jalabert. I still think that 10 jersey is up for grabs between the two of them, because Astoy, similar to BLBRE, showing that it doesn't matter how much experience he has, he can still do it at test level. So some very good positives for France there. They got a really tough game. They came through it with a win, and other than the Aldred knock, hopefully not too many players picking up knocks, and hopefully nobody is actually ruled out of the World Cup because of it. Same for Fiji as well. Fiji, I felt, they've shown this year that they really have come on as a team, and they're kind of in that. I'd say they're in that kind of place there where you've got, other than the top 5, you got from 6 down to 10 or 12 or so, where there's a lot of teams in there who at the Rugby World Cup could easily end up at the top of that kind of grouping, and Fiji are one who are showing what they have to offer. There was some really good performances from them as well. That once went really well at 10. Botia and Mata both looking really good in the back row as well. They look dangerous with ball in hand. Again, I'd like to see them running more at space and not just kind of running into contact and hoping to kind of break tackles. I'd like to see them try to avoid tackles a little bit more. They do have that offloading game. I felt that France did really well at actually managing that as well. And, France are also very good. They have a lot of players who will watch for offloads and try and pick them off too. So, Fiji couldn't be too adventurous with their offloading as well. But yeah, looking at them going into the Rugby World Cup, they're in the same pool as Wales and Australia. They've got to fancy themselves to be able to give both of them a game. I think the thing with Fiji is it's not whether they can put it up to those teams. It's whether all throughout the group they can perform consistently to maybe get a win against one of Wales and Australia, and then win their other games comfortably enough that they're not ending up kind of getting eliminated on bonus points or something like that. So yeah, I think they've sent out a real warning here to teams to take notice on that side of the draw, that they're actually going to be a force in this World Cup.